500,000 would feed. Join the real world. Your opinion does count. Please write.
From ABC News, World News Sunday, here's Forrest Sawyer.
Good evening. They are talking peace in the Middle East tonight. Israel today agreed to join the peace conference scheduled for the end of the month in Madrid. That is the first such talk with its Arab opponents since the country was created in 1948. And there is new hope one of the 5 remaining American hostages in Lebanon may be released within 24 hours. ABC's Dean Reynolds is in Tel Aviv.
As many as 15 of these Muslim prisoners held in South Lebanon are to be released shortly, Israeli sources say. The gesture to be taken by Israel will be a response to the conclusive proof received here this weekend that another of Israel's missing servicemen is dead.
The uncertainty of the last 5.5 years has come to a close. I suppose, in a sense, we have to be thankful for that.
That accounting of the missing Israeli and word of another prisoner released by Israel apparently prompted the United Nations to predict today that an American hostage held in Lebanon may be released in the next 24 hours. Ironically, the news comes as 3 more Israeli servicemen were killed today and 2 others wounded when a bomb blew up their vehicle in the Israeli-held security zone in South Lebanon. A radical Shiite militia claimed responsibility hours later. It is just the kind of incident that makes Israelis doubt the sincerity of their Arab neighbors soon to be joining them in a Mideast peace conference. But today, the Israeli cabinet voted overwhelmingly to attend the Madrid talks, with much hesitation.
We are dealing here in the life of a nation. And that's why people are very careful and are not enthusiastic, but at the same time, they're not in despair.
The peace conference is designed to do away with the hatred that has led to such things as hostage-taking. It is another incentive for the negotiators in Madrid to reach some kind of reconciliation so that this hostage crisis is the last. Dean Reynolds, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
That guerrilla attack on Israeli forces in Lebanon has raised fears of a new wave of terrorism aimed at blocking the peace talks. For many Arab and Islamic extremists, those talks are a betrayal of their goals. And nowhere is that feeling seen in sharper focus than in Iran, which played host to the emerging rejectionist front. ABC's Jim Laurie is in Tehran.
Some would call this a terrorist convention. Here they prefer to see it as a meeting of committed pro-Palestinians who reject the Madrid peace conference and seek to upstage Secretary of State Baker. Hosting hundreds of Palestinian and Muslim leaders, Iranian President Rafsanjani reaffirmed Iran's readiness to join and help finance a holy war to liberate Palestine, while the staunchly religious Ayatollah Ali Khamenei denounced the Madrid meeting and anyone who compromises on Palestinian rights. Some experts worry radicals may have more influence over Israel's Palestinians than the upcoming Madrid talks will.
They are appealing over the heads of the Arab leaders who are agreeing to talk to Israel now, appealing to the people to reject the peace process.
One by one today, leaders of the Lebanese-based Iranian-backed Hezbollah group threatened and lambasted Israel. The group leaders, though, refused when asked to discuss the possibility of the release soon of American hostages they hold in Beirut. The issue today, said Sheikh Fadlallah, is Palestine.
So the radicals have their say, but what is dangerously unclear is whether the rhetoric here is just that, or is the start to a campaign to disrupt the peace talks by violent means. Jim Laurie, ABC News, Tehran.
And coming up, a former Ku Klux Klan leader races for the Louisiana governor's chair. And later in the broadcast, beauty and terror in the Southeast Asian nation of Burma. And America's best bring home some hard-earned lessons from the Gulf War. Successes this week, a Middle East peace conference announced, a Supreme Court nominee sworn in. But as the 1992 campaign season begins, the sluggish economy is what is worrying the administration and American voters. Ann Compton has that story.
Voices rose in protest across the country this weekend. But today, a $72 billion tax cut package was unveiled by the Democrat who chairs the Senate Finance Committee.
This economy is dead in the water, and we do have to jumpstart it. The administration has been trying to talk their way out of it, and that hasn't worked.
Benson would give a $300 tax credit for each child in a family. He's proposing a way for first-time home buyers to withdraw money from their retirement funds. And he would pay for it all with a 5% cut in military spending. On This Week with David Brinkley, Chief of Staff John Sununu said a White House package will be based on the belief the recession is over.
The turnaround occurred back in May and June. It is not going as fast as we'd like. We would like to be creating more jobs at this time.
The cornerstone of the Bush plan is a controversial cut in the capital gains tax. The Democratic leadership still says that, like other Bush policies, will only help the rich.
In every respect, the president's economic policy has been wrong, and the result has been the worst economic performance of any president since Herbert Hoover.
The president's tax cut should be out within a few days, but Congress plans to adjourn in just 1 month. So time may be running short for any political miracles. Ann Compton, ABC News, the White House.
Louisiana politician David Duke has a new listing on his resume. He is not only a former Grand Wizard in the Ku Klux Klan, he is also now a runoff candidate for governor. His candidacy as a Republican has stirred up controversy all the way to Washington. Here's Mike Von Fremd.
I don't think I have to get Duke was savoring his spot in the runoff today, proudly presenting himself as the Republican Party's official candidate for governor.
I think I offer a tremendous opportunity for the Republican Party. I'm the first Republican candidate that actually bridges the gap between the fiscal conservative and labor.
But the president's chief of staff was outraged that Duke considers himself a legitimate member of the president's party.
The president is absolutely opposed to the kind of racist statements that have come out of David Duke now and in the past, and I think you will see, unfortunately, a race in Louisiana that probably could be best served if they added a third line to the ballot, that line saying no.
Democrat Edwin Edwards will be the other candidate on the ballot. Though he finished first yesterday, analysts noted the relatively small black vote against Duke.
In the past, it was a mistaken assumption that his presence would automatically translate into high black voter turnout. It did not happen in the Senate race, and it did not happen in this race in some black areas.
Nevertheless, Edwards is considered the clear favorite. But some pollsters are hedging their bets, having learned the hard way not to underestimate Duke. Mike Von Fremd, ABC News, New Orleans.
In California, 5 people are believed dead. 45 homes have been destroyed by a raging fire in the hills above Oakland. Flames rising 100 feet into the air. Helicopters have been brought in to dump chemicals, but winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour are keeping the fire alive. In the Texas town of Killeen, while police are trying to learn why George Hennard shot and killed 23 people last week, survivors and families of the victims are trying to put their lives back together, and they are burying their dead. Here's ABC's Charles Murphy.
Friends and family of Dr. Michael Griffith paid their final respects today at a church in Copperas Cove. He was the local veterinarian. This weekend has been given over to funerals, 7 so far. Yesterday in Belton, services were set at First Baptist for Juanita Williams. She was president of a credit union. At the massacre site, wreaths have been placed, and today there was a stream of visitors, like this couple from Michigan.
It's really sad.
You wonder what kind of a town, you know, something could happen like this in.
Maybe it could happen anywhere in America, but many people here needed reassurance, not only about their town, but about themselves. Red Cross nurses who've been dealing with victims' families say there's a lot of repressed feelings here.
And it's just not very Texan to express this pain and this anger, this fury at this vicious man.
At First Baptist Church in Killeen today, people tried to come to terms with their grief.
I don't understand. We've asked that question all week long. I don't understand. Lord, help me know how to get from where I am, from hurt to hope.
The cafeteria used to be a popular eating place following church services. People were asking, where do you go now?
We happen to eat in the Luby's every Sunday after church, you know. Well, it takes away your feeling of security even wherever you are when something like this can happen.
Charles Murphy, ABC News, Killeen, Texas.
Former White House aide Oliver North has stirred new controversy in the Iran-Contra scandal, charging in his new book that President Reagan knew all about the illegal diversion of money to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. North has so far offered no hard proof supporting his claims. His first live interview in 5 years starts tomorrow night on ABC News Nightline. And coming up next, an ABC News exclusive, a rare glimpse of life in the land once called Burma. Peace Prize was awarded to a political dissident imprisoned in her own home. The world has begun looking more closely at the government of Burma, now officially called Myanmar. The ruling military junta is accused of crushing its opposition and driving the country into poverty. ABC's Mark Litke is the first U.S. journalist allowed into the country in over a year. He files this exclusive report.
It is a land of extraordinary beauty and grace. But beneath its exotic veneer, it is a nation of repression and fear. These are the scenes that dominate Burma's government-controlled television night after night. The generals who seized power here 3 years ago and changed the country's official name to Myanmar show no sign of relaxing their grip. To speak out publicly against them is to risk jail, torture, even death. Bert Levin was the last American ambassador to Burma.
It's foolish to even speak about human rights. It's totally alien in the present context of Burma.
The Burmese people were allowed to go to the polls last year to elect a civilian government, but when the Democratic opposition won 85% of the vote, the military simply ignored the results and threw many of the winners in jail. The country's most famous dissident, Aung San Suu Kyi, winner of this year's Nobel Peace Prize, has been under house arrest for more than 2 years. Her home is surrounded by heavily armed troops, absolutely no visitors allowed. And the intimidation does not end here.
An important and well-connected foreign resident here in Rangoon has told ABC News that the government is actually conducting a Stalinist-style purge of the civil service, the universities, the best educated sectors of society.
Thousands of civil servants have been disciplined or fired because they failed to give politically correct answers on a recent government questionnaire. Students have been warned that they and their families will be punished if they engage in politics. On the campus of Rangoon University, they take the threat very seriously.
Does anybody talk about politics anymore?
Yes. Yes.
You talk about politics.
To discourage protests by the nation's influential Buddhist monks, armed troops are also posted at many monasteries and pagodas. Ironically, while continuing to crush dissent, the generals do seem somewhat concerned with the mounting international criticism of their regime, especially Kim Yun, the powerful young head of military intelligence. He was the one who approved ABC's visit here and seemed intent on projecting a more moderate image, especially on the economic front, where Burma has abandoned a disastrous 30-year experiment with socialism in favor of a more market-oriented economy. Foreign companies are being given unprecedented access to Burma's vast natural resources. Chronic economic mismanagement has led to soaring inflation, up 60% this year, and most products are far beyond the means of an average Burmese family. This is still a nation so poor, young women and children are often forced to work in medieval conditions, earning just enough in one day to buy a bowl of rice. While we could not speak openly with Burmese people in the presence of our government guide, a few managed to tell us they hoped Suu Kyi's Nobel Peace Prize would refocus world attention on their beleaguered nation. In this amateur video made shortly before her arrest, Suu Kyi herself articulated what most Burmese can only dream about today.
The goal is just one. We want a democratic government elected by the people in free and fair elections.
But no one doubts that beautiful and exotic Burma will remain a land in which the military casts a giant shadow for some time to come. Mark Litke, ABC News, Rangoon.
And when we return, sports fans cashing in on their dream teams.
Thank you, Forrest. The rich are richer and the poor poorer tonight in the NFL. The unbeaten New Orleans Saints, with the best defense in the league, hung 7 sacks around Tampa Bay quarterback Chris Chandler. Saints are 7-0 on the season. And the New York Jets used a flea flicker from Ken O'Brien to Johnny Hector, back to O'Brien to Rob Moore to help send the Indianapolis Colts to their 8th loss without a win. Football is in full cry. The baseball season is winding down. Hockey has begun. Basketball is in the wings. All of this is catnip to the fantasies of the rotisserie people, as Armin Katayan reports from the Twilight Zone.
28. Good for 28. Once, twice, 3 times. Go on.
It has been hailed as the hobby of the 90s.
Glenn Bitts 37th for win. Peter, you in?
A fantasy world where home runs, stolen bases, and jump shots take on a life of their own, where statistics are king. 10 years ago, Dan Okrent, now an editor at Life magazine, was one of the founding fathers of rotisserie, or fantasy league baseball.
It started out of desperation and psychosis, I think. It's absolutely addictive. And it's about as good for you as all other addictions.
Today, despite that whimsical warning, an estimated 2 million people compete in fantasy baseball, football, basketball, hockey, and even golf leagues. In these make-believe leagues, owners build their teams by buying major league athletes at preseason auctions or drafts, according to strict rules and spending limits.
35 for George Bell.
Final team standings are based on the performance of those athletes in several statistical categories. The challenge and fun comes in creating the best team through the draft and trades, then watching it play.
These guys study it the same way a general manager study ball clubs. These guys are actually professionals at what they're doing.
Fantasy leagues are now a booming $50 million a year business, complete with specialized newspapers, magazines, 900 numbers for instant results, how-to books, computer companies cranking out league standings, and slick sports videos. In the last few years, critics contend an innocent hobby has turned into a frightening obsession, that some fantasy league owners and their cold-blooded attachment to stats have taken the joy out of sports. In this recent New York Times column, one of the top baseball writers in the country labeled fantasy owners baseball boors and called for the abolition of such leagues. The owners who can win $5,000 or more in a season see it differently. They say the leagues bring them closer to the action.
Carter is out.
I'm more focused during the games. I'll be looking forward to when my hitter is coming up or watching my pitcher while he's performing.
My hitter, my pitcher, a possessive attitude athletes face on and off the field.
A lot of fans will yell at me, "Hey, Grace, you're on my rotisserie team. You're killing me."
Yeah, they say, come on, Steve, I need 2 more stolen bases, or I need a couple more hits.
Publicity and sports departments also feel the heat.
If you happen to have a skill position player that's injured, everybody wants to know, is he going to play next week? And we do get a lot of calls.
And sometimes, as owners slip from fan to fanatic, domestic bliss suffers.
His whole life is baseball during the baseball season. Actually, this is the best time of year for me because the World Series and the playoffs are here, and then I get my husband back after the baseball season's over.
True, but then again, basketball season is right around the corner. Armin Katayan, ABC News, New York.
The new NBA season begins on November 1st. Gentlemen, sharpen your pencils. Forrest?
Thank you, Ray. And when we come back, what some U.S. high flyers learned in the Gulf War.
We built this business.
They came in with their big pumps and stopped the flooding. Saved my business. All I've worked for.
Built this business.
Our people really cared. It meant a lot to us.
Today claims Israel has far more nuclear weapons than anyone suspected. The Samson option also says Israel went on full nuclear alert during the Gulf War. U.S. air power helped cut down the chances of a confrontation between Israel and Iraq. And this weekend, the war's lessons were being applied in the skies over Nevada. Brian Rooney reports.
They call the event Gunsmoke, a shootout in the Nevada desert to find out who are the best fighter bomber pilots in the Air Force. Coming off a real shootout in the Persian Gulf, the pilots are back to doing what they've been doing most of their flying lives, training, but this time with a little difference.
There's a little bit more intensity, I think.
in our training programs now because of what they saw over there. They pay a lot more attention to the lessons that they're learning.
Strike one, set.
The competition involves such old-fashioned fighter pilot skills as bombing and strafing. But hitting a target from a supersonic jet is not easy. From the moment the pilot rolls in on his approach, he has just seconds to shoot.
When the constant computing impact point, PIMPER, our death dot as we call it, reaches the target, we've got to make sure we precisely put it right on the top of the target.
That's it, and time to get out of there. Everything is done as if it were the real thing, and an enemy is shooting back. Pilots like to say their training prepares them for everything, but a new war usually brings back old and sometimes forgotten lessons. In the Gulf, it was the danger of old-fashioned anti-aircraft artillery, which knocked down more planes than missiles did.
It's at AAA, you know, they're just shooting barrage up there, and your target's beyond that barrage. You got to fly through it.
So now the competition includes dive bombing and high-altitude attack to avoid low-altitude ground fire. At Gunsmoke, everything is judged, from the accuracy of the bombing to the timing and precision of the ground crews. It's a high-pressure event, but nothing compared to the real thing.
We know that this is a game, and some of the pressures that we feel, we can look back and say, hey, just a few months ago, people were actually shooting at us, and we know what pressure is really all about.
And this is where they'd rather be, training for war, not fighting it. Brian Rooney, ABC News, Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada.
And that is World News Sunday.